There were a few golden NES cartridges in my childhood. I remember seeing The Legend of Zelda for NES and being amazed at just how shiny it was. And then I played that game and realized it deserved to be golden because that game is golden. Another golden cartridge in my childhood, though, was Big Nose the Caveman, on the exact same caliber as... Wait, who am I kidding? The Legend of Zelda is a masterpiece of Nintendo gaming, but Big Nose the Caveman? From the title, it doesn't sound extremely promising, but my brothers and I were ready to give it a chance as kids, and we did. I remember there being something charming about this game that drew us in. We played it over and over and over until we lost all of our lives and had to restart. But that isn't even the worst part of this game. As I pulled out Big Nose the Caveman to play again, I was ready, excited even, to delve into this game from my childhood and see if all my nostalgia would come rushing back. And yes, as I played this game, I kept saying out loud like a true gaming nerd, "That's an unlocked core memory! That's an unlocked core memory! I remember that!" But was the actual game good, and was it worth playing again? Or should it be passed? That was what I was here to find out. Big Nose the Caveman was an unlicensed game developed by Codemasters and released by Cam America in 1991 for the NES. The story here is simple. One day, Big Nose the Caveman sees a flying pterodactyl and dreams of eating it. So he follows the prehistoric dinosaur through 4 islands: Paradise Island, Monster Island, Terror Island, and Chaos Island, until he finds the bird. At that moment, there's the biggest twist in Big Nose the Caveman history, as the game suddenly becomes about... Did you really think I was going to spoil the big twist right at the beginning of this video? Nah, we gotta talk about gameplay first, because this game is, in one word, difficult. In fact, this is one of those NES platformers that is actually hair-pulling frustrating, especially as you get closer to the final levels. Near the end, I found myself close to losing it because the enemies, the hit detection, the platforming jumps into oblivion are almost too much to take. Big Nose is the main character and has a club. He can swing the club and throughout the levels pick up 3 stones that allow him to also throw stones when he swings his club. He has to build up from swinging the club to throwing 1 stone, then throwing 2 stones, and finally throwing 3 at once. Not having 3 stones to throw at any point in this game is asking to be taken out, because again, it's just that difficult. Having the ability to throw stones also acts like an extra hit in the game. If an enemy hits you while you're able to throw stones, you revert back to regular club swinging Big Nose. But if you're hit while in your club swing only mode, you lose a life. You also collect bones throughout each stage that you can use to purchase items and spells at the local cave shops. There are many, many different items to choose from when you come into the shop somewhat randomly. Sometimes you find them before playing a new level, other times you literally fall into them when you slip down the right chasm and discover it wasn't a chasm at all, but someone's shop disguised as a hole in the ground. The bones are plentiful, and I never found myself running out of them as I purchased extra lives and spells. You can choose from different spells such as the float spell, a quake spell, a jump spell, that all allow you to do different things when you press select and then choose them. I personally liked using the stun spell as it freezes the enemies on screen, allowing you to pass them by. There are sections of the game that almost need some of these spells in order to progress. At one point in a later level, choosing to go near the bottom of the screen instead of staying in the trees at the top can soft lock the level if you don't have the float spell or jump spell to get you back to the higher platforms. Otherwise, you have to wait until you run out of time or fall into a chasm to start over. Each level has a timer, and the further into the game you go, the less and less time you have. There were a few stages where I found myself racing the clock and coming to the end within seconds before time ran out. You have to rely on every bit of your platforming skill to make it to the end of each level by the time you reach the 4th island. At the end of each level is a boss. Some of the bosses, oh my goodness. Some of them are so difficult. The worst, in my opinion, is this dinosaur that stands up and spits fireballs at you in random intervals. I tried to figure out what the pattern was exactly, but every time I thought I had it down, the dinosaur changed it up and I was losing my health and lives very quickly. Which brings me to one of the reasons why this game is just so difficult. You only have so many lives before you have a game over. There are no continues in this game. Losing your lives means going back to the very beginning of the game. I can't tell you how frustrating that is when you've been playing for a solid hour, are on the 4th island, and lose your lives to the random prehistoric birds that swoop out of nowhere at you and force you into a chasm, causing you to lose that last life you had and send you back to the beginning. It makes the game almost unfun to play because it is just so frustrating. I won't lie, I finally had to bust out my Game Genie and look up some codes for infinite lives online in order to finish this game. I really don't think I could have beaten it otherwise, as it is just too hard to actually beat in one sitting unless you have it completely memorized. And even then, I don't know how you would possibly memorize it without being able to play a level over and over until you figured out where every swooping bat and hopping frog appears. There are numerous secrets to find in this game, as sometimes jumping into the air from the right tree branch will send you into a bonus area with bones and often stones right when you needed them. There are many chasms that aren't death traps at all, but instead send you into caves below the level, which allow you to skip over much of the stage and come up later in the level. Each stage also has some rocks that Big Nose can whack with his club. This is always a little risky, as sometimes when you whack the rocks, really great things happen, like 5 bones appear for you to collect, bonus areas in the clouds are unlocked, or you receive invincibility for a short time. But sometimes, when you whack the wrong stone, a rock falls from the sky and hits you in the head, causing you to lose either your life or your stone throwing ability. There is also one type of rock I forgot about until I whacked it, and that is the rock that reverses the controls on your Nintendo controller. Suddenly, when you press right, you move left, and when you press left, you move right. I feel like this is the cruelest thing the developers of the game could have done. Did I already mention how hard this game is, let alone letting it be made even more difficult than before, because now you have to make it through the level with your brain processing the controls backwards. This isn't fun like in Mega Man 5 when you're in Gravity Man stage and the polarity is switched, allowing you to walk on the ceiling. That is a fun gameplay mechanic that adds something new, and you have visual cues there on screen to show you what's about to happen. That is not the same story here in Big Nose the Caveman. Nothing tells you you have suddenly reversed controls. You just walk right off a cliff and lose one of your precious lives. There are also a few auto-scrolling levels, some of them on the ground or in the clouds, but 4 of those are over the ocean or over volcanoes, where you have to repeatedly press A to keep Big Nose in the air as he swings his club around like a helicopter blade. Yes, this is a lot of button mashing. Oh my goodness. I was partly appreciative of the difference in gameplay in these flying levels, but also felt completely frustrated by how tricky some of them could be as you try to survive the flying dinosaurs swooping out of nowhere at breakneck speeds, leaving you barely any time to react. One of these levels leads to the final boss of the game, the pterodactyl from earlier. This boss has a fairly simple pattern to learn, and if you're careful enough, you can actually learn it on the first go around, but you have to have stone throwing abilities or it is near impossible to defeat the pterodactyl simply by swinging a club. Once you defeat the pterodactyl, there's a cutscene where you both suddenly are fighting each other and suddenly end up in a hospital, and then there's a title card that comes on that reveals the true meaning of Big Nose the Caveman. All along, this was really a game about Thanksgiving. It literally says they had a wonderful Thanksgiving, a prehistoric Thanksgiving. Big Nose the Caveman is really an NES Thanksgiving video game. I'm not sure there even are other Thanksgiving video games, but this is one of them, perhaps the only one. Part of me felt so relieved to just be done with the game, but part of me was scratching my head wondering, where did Thanksgiving even come from in this game? But there it was, right at the end of this very long, very difficult platformer. So did I like anything about the game? Well, I have to admit the graphics are kind of fun. You have these big sprites and a very wide range of enemies that do different things to attack Big Nose. That always kept it interesting. And trying out the different spells is also a lot of fun, seeing what combinations will help you make it through the next few levels without losing one of those precious extra lives. And yes, like I said, there is quite a bit of nostalgia packed into this cartridge for me, and as I fell into that first chasm that really wasn't a chasm, but that underground area, it truly did feel like a core memory had been unlocked. But there is also a lot of frustration in playing this game. I feel as though it really wouldn't have been so aggravating if there was just a continue system in place. Even if you only had 2 continues and then you were done, I would have accepted that much more readily than being tossed back to the very beginning. There are also quite a few levels here that are nearly complete repeats of earlier levels, leading me to wonder why they were even added, if only to give a new color palette to a level I had already played and pad out the level count. So the time has come. What is my official rating for Big Nose the Caveman? My rating system is really simple. It's either a pass, play, or play it again. Pass just means you can definitely skip it, play means you should play it at least once, and play it again means it's worth keeping and revisiting. Big Nose the Caveman receives my rating of pass. Don't play this game. It isn't very good. Sure, it's unique in that it's one of the only Thanksgiving video games for the NES, but that is not worth the price of admission and the price of pain that you will go through playing this game, in my opinion. If you have some strong nostalgia like I do, then sure, play this game until you run out of lives, or really bust out your Game Genie and use some cheat codes to make it to the end. But otherwise, pass on Big Nose the Caveman.